Hi everyone, thank you so much for coming along to learn about the work that we've been doing in Project 5. I've been mentoring this project and it's been an absolute pleasure. So I'm here today, I'll be channeling Tanya from Kent Learning and Skills. So I was so pleased that you got to see her speak for herself this morning about her project, but I want to share a little bit more about what they've been doing there. Then we'll have the Royal Borough of Kensington and Chelsea. So we have Nicola and Rhonda here who will talk about the innovative work that they've been doing around active learning strategies, particularly for ESOL learners at pre-entry level. And then to finish us off with a flourish, we've got Petrock College. Petrock, who travelled from Devon today to be with us. That's commitment, isn't it? And they're going to talk about a strategy called Vesper that they've been using and how they've been using that with learners in their setting. So I felt for me, as my role as a mentor, one of the things that I really wanted to do, and that I was so privileged to be able to do, was to take a bit of a bird's eye view of the three projects and look at the synergy between them and the differences. And I think one of the things that was really striking about each of these projects, which all focused in different ways on independent learning, was how important it is to put the learner at the absolute centre of everything that you're doing. So contextualising approaches were really, really important. The idea of lifting something from perhaps an established and highbrow research report and putting it into your setting didn't always work. Taking a strategy that other people have said is great, if it doesn't fit with the learner's story, if it doesn't fit with their lives, the teams were finding that they needed to adapt, they needed to do something different, and they will tell you about the different approaches they took. So that's in a nutshell what these projects were about. So now I'm Tanya, and I'll talk a little bit very quickly about their volunteer project. So what the team wanted to do was to really support learner confidence. They found that learners were coming into their setting very new to learning or coming with very limited spoken English, and they wanted to find strategies and ways of building and developing confidence. And the way they decided to do this was through using volunteers. And anyone who's familiar with John Hattie's work, he talks quite scathingly about teaching assistants, about volunteers, about the impact that they have. And so this was kind of underpinning work that the team wanted to explore and pose a grassroots challenge to that. So they embedded a very sort of robust volunteer training programme. Volunteers were absolutely sort of encompassed into the staff team, and made very, very valuable. And what the volunteers did was they were to work one-to-one initially with learners who had chosen to be part of the project. So it was very participatory in nature, this work. Learners weren't selected, they came forward and said, we want to be part of this project. And I'm just going to skip through to this. So what they developed, the volunteers, the teachers and the learners, was a self-assessment tool, and they use this to get learners to sort of initiate talking points between learners and volunteers about their lives, about their learning, and to encourage the independence. They felt that that was really, really important, and here it is. So they had a list of different things. Some things specifically about learning, other things about personal growth and development. And what they found, and what was really, really important with this self-assessment, was that this was a collaborative thing. So this wasn't something that was given to learners, complete this and give it back to us. It was a sit-down, volunteer-learner conversation. And what they found through going through this together is the conversations that it elicited enabled very quickly the tutor, the volunteer, to understand the areas where the learner was really confident and feeling good, and the areas where learners felt less confident they could then channel some of that into their maths and English learning to support them overall. Interesting findings here, something like British values, something that we might feel a bit funny sometimes about talking about, especially perhaps with ESOL learners. They found that actually learners were really confident talking about this. They had a very good underpinning, good understanding about their values, what that meant, those human values, community values, and how they could talk about things that and relate that back to their life from different perspectives. Being able to talk freely about things that are important to you, being able to share your story, then supported learners in English lessons who typically may not have spoken up. So really, really positive findings with this kind of approach, taking that time to have really highly developed volunteers supporting learners, using a self-assessment tool but in a very creative way to elicit an understanding about where learners are at. So I think perhaps the key there, learners had chance to recognise positive things about themselves. It's not a deficit way of thinking. So they were able to champion the things that they already felt confident about, which then supported their learning, supported their English learning. And these are a couple of quotes from learners. So a learner who said that he couldn't read or write at all then went on to say, I'm really happy I wrote a sentence by myself. It's in there, I just have to unlock it. Placing the learner at the centre, sharing stories, making learning meaningful, unlocks that kind of fear, that phobia of reading and writing. I'm no longer frightened of reading. So I'm going to leave it there. They're really excited about this. They're going to continue it beyond this project, and they've put that, Kent have put it out to various other centres now in the county, and they're carrying on building this. They're writing, they're really excited about it, and we have a Padlet board that has lots more info on that we'll share with you, because then you can hear from the team themselves rather than from me. But that was Kent. So I'm now going to pass on to Rhonda and Nicola from Kensington and Chelsea.
Hello. Okay, we are from the Royal Borough of Kensington and Chelsea, but we're not that posh. We're actually from Clement James, a education centre. Some say we're based in North Kensington. Some say we're based in Notting Hill. It depends who you are as to where we are. We are right next door to the Grenfell Tower. Our centre served the tower and still serves people who were lucky to still have their life and still live in the area. We have 32 people who use the centre on a regular basis who unfortunately passed away in the tower, so there is a real big connection. Our learners are not the sort of learners that pick up a glossy leaflet and then enrol on a course. It's not like that at all. Most of our work is done by word of mouth. We go out, we visit the community, we talk to our existing learners, and try and get people to come in to the centre. But of course that brings with it a whole host of different issues. There may be still, correcting their mental health, they might have, issues with their children. But the good thing about the centre is it offers for the whole family. We have academic support, we have homework clubs, we have wellbeing days, and our ESOL provision. So that's just a little bit of a setting about where we're from. Am I supposed to press that? Okay, so yes, we are RBKC, we are Clement James. Nova and Westway are also other charities that are working within the borough, and Kensington and Chelsea, which have just recently merged with Morley, and I think there's some of our colleagues are from Morley as well. So we all come under the funding arm of RBKC. So, Rhonda, I'm going to hand over to you.
Okay, so hello again everyone. I'm Rhonda and I'm one of the tutors that works in a brilliant charity called Clement James Centre. And I came to the first meeting in Birmingham in September, and I was told that I have to do this action research project. And one of the first things I went, no, we're getting our learners ready for an exam next year. When am I going to fit this in? So I'm going to share some of my experience, expertise from it, and the findings of it. So that happened. This is just showing when the borough said, we are going to train you, and here's an example of what you need to do, or we'd like you to do. You need to do it. So we were shown or told to ask the learners, what would you like to do? And what would you like to learn? Which is challenging for pre-entry, entry-level ESOL learners. I want to learn English. Okay. So it then took some, let's say, creative thinking outside of the box to try and get their ideas shared. And can I show that to us? What is it? Post-it notes. Okay. So the one I'm going to talk about or share with you soon, it's the story reading and authentic writing task. And I use post-it notes to get their opinions. Well, first I asked them questions, and everyone gave those answers. Well, I want to talk to the doctor on my own. I want to go college. I want a better job. And with a volunteer in the class, I gave them post-it notes and said, good, you gave me your ideas. Okay, write it. Don't worry about the English, how to spell it. Just write it. So to bring that authentic nature, it wasn't my ideas presented to them. It was their words, and the volunteer in the class was writing for them, and I'm encouraging them to write, because at the basis of this project is, how do I develop independent learning? How am I meeting my learners' individual needs? So lots of them shared with us, and I'm sharing with you. Okay. And this I'm aware of, but it also surprised me. So I was very thankful. I left the room. I thanked them for their input. I was very grateful for something as simple as a post-it note to help me. Then I went away and thought, how do I incorporate this into our beloved scheme of work? Now that they have told me what they want. During that term, I knew I was going to teach or show about festivals. So I gave a template for them, and it was the same. I then modeled my favorite festival, and then gave them time to go away, choose a festival from their country, and come back to share in front of the class like the teacher. So yes, it did take away time from my planning for them, but the findings then surprised me, because they were then very responsive. They were excited to share, maybe because I modeled it, and then they can come back and share with the class their favorite festival. I do have a picture of one learner who was in the front, and she almost was sounding like myself, sharing. I took a picture. It's quite small, don't worry. From there, they each had a chance to share. From there, what I then did, I got them to write about what they shared, and then their classmates asked questions. So for me, it was ticking all the things that I thought I knew I had to teach. Digital skills, some of them went online and researched. They got their family involved to help them write sentences. They knew the type of questions that were coming, so they were able to easily answer. They were speaking and listening. I didn't have to say, okay, quiet now. They were all listening to each other. So for me, as a tutor, I was surprised and pleased how responsive and eager they were to give this a try. but I also wanted to show you feedback from one of the learners. Hello, good morning. What's your name?
Good morning, teacher. My name Mama.
Mama. What do you want to learn?
I learn English for reading.
Yes.
Speaking, please.
And speaking. And reading what?
I reading alphabet.
Yes.
For help myself after for reading letter, for book appointment,
Yes.
for rock book.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you said you want to improve
Yeah.
your speaking?
Speaking. I speak. Sometimes I say people English.
Yes.
Speak me English, but me no speaking. I need more.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where do they speak to you? Where?
She speak me. Where you from? Where you love for London? Where you doing? Where you going?
Okay.
Yeah. Sometimes some woman age. Bigger age,
Yeah.
she stay with me for but told me hi. Where you from? I
Do
tell-
you have a carer?
Yes.
Oh, this is good. So you want better English,
English.
so you can speak with her.
With him, yeah.
Oh.
Sometimes just told me hi. I tell him hi. She told me where you from? I tell him Morocco. After she speak with me, I tell I'm sorry, me no English very well. She told me she's okay. She's understand.
I understand.
Yeah.
And you remember the class where we talk about festivals?
Yes, for country.
Yes.
Yeah.
What festival you talked about?
I maybe for Ramadan.
Yes, I
My
think you did
festival for Ramadan.
Ramadan.
Yes.
Yes, and
Yeah.
this was. Did you like class that way?
Well, yeah, I love my class.
What did you do?
For class,
Yes, that class with the festivals.
I sure people for photo, for
Yes.
food, for go mosque. After she stay with my family together, breakfast, lunch.
Yes,
Yeah,
I
sure.
remember that.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
And you were. How did you feel when you had to go in front of the class?
No happy. I shall here, me no have too much, my friend.
Yes.
But for student here, see my family,
Okay.
know my country, but I'm happy with him.
Okay.
Yeah.
With the people
with
in
people,
the class.
yeah, with student with
Okay.
me. Yeah.
No worries. Thank you.
As well, I like my teacher. She's helped me. Thank you for him very much for Club and Junction. Gave me time for help for myself.
Yes. No
Yeah.
problem. As long to and for you to get better, do you practice English at home?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Will do. Thank you, Mama.
Thank you, Bali. Have a good day.
Okay, thank you. So I showed Mama because, as I said, she had some issues. There we found her to be very responsive, sharing how I think that class has impacted upon her, influenced her as I'm learning. And it brought me to start thinking outside the box. I remembered this quotation: if you give a man a fish, you feed him for the day. But I think we've taught her how to learn. We've incorporated all the skills. Hence, she was trying to share. So if you teach a man to fish, you feed them for life. So thank you. I'll send you over to my colleagues who did their project.
Just while David's setting that up, it might be worth reflecting on the way that Mama lit up a learner that didn't feel comfortable speaking, a learner that didn't always come to class, given the opportunity to share something of her life, of her experiences, and how that supported speaking and listening skills, starting to think about writing. So that autonomy over learning that these projects, Kent and Kensington's and Petrock's are giving, and the way that that can support English development was really, really important. The video was quite quiet. We have a Padlet board and everything's on there, so we will make sure that we share with you that Padlet board so you can go back and you can look at the videos. And there we are.
Thank you. We found it.
It's exciting.
Yeah. Hi everyone, my name's Jo Byrne and I'm from Petrock. So we have myself and Michelle here. We've come from North Devon this morning. So it's a bit of an early start. There was snow, there was rain, there's a bit of flooding, but we made it in the end. So we're going to talk to you today about our project. And it really has been incredibly valuable to us. It has changed the way that we deliver English and maths, and it's made us really think differently about how we meet learner needs. So I'm going to take you back to where it all began. How many of you here have read this book? I think so. Yeah, 3, yeah. And I'd never heard of Vesper. I'd never heard about the GCSE mindset. But I went to an AOC conference this time last year. And I've got to be honest, because it's a bit of a long journey back to Devon, I was sat at the back of the hall thinking, right, okay, I'm going to sneak out about 3:30, get the early train and get home. And then this guy stands up, Steve Oakes, and he starts talking about his strategy, which is Vesper. Basically what happened about, I think it was 2014, himself and another member of his team, a member of SLT, were given some project funding to do a bit of research into what makes high achievers achieve. And they came up with the model of Vesper, which was vision, effort, systems, practice and attitude. And what he was saying really resonated with me, to the point that I didn't leave at 3:30. I was still there at 4:30, just drinking it all in. Just thinking, gosh, you know, he's talking about my learners. He's talking about the learners that sit there and say, I don't want to be here, I failed 2 years in a row, I just can't do it. And no matter how hard you try, you don't seem to be able to engage them. So I bought the book, I joined the queue, I bought the book. I took all the resources that had been handed out and I thought, right, okay, I'm going to go back, share it with my team, and we're going to prepare for the exams, but we are going to also look at effort, make sure that we're clear in our expectation. We're going to look at systems, because actually I've got a lovely group of health and social care students who have got every highlighter under the sun, but they don't know what to do with their notes when they made them. And practice. I think one thing that we've learned from this is that I've always assumed that they didn't want to learn. Those ones who were quite kind of apathetic, the ones that sit there with their shoulders down. What this has taught me is not every learner that comes through the school system knows how to learn. Okay, so as I said, we started this probably putting it into our schemes of work around Easter, and I mean it really had remarkable results. So one thing that's in the Vesper book, and I am a convert, so sorry about this, was something called the effort line. And I'm really sorry if those of you who've read it before, you know, you've done this one. But I handed this exercise out to the learners and it was really straightforward. It was, right, draw a line, across the page, put a 1 and a 10. Didn't quantify what a 1 and a 10 was, I just said, right, draw the line. I want you to tell me where you are with effort. And I was literally copying something that Steve had shown us the week before, a few weeks before, up in London. Nobody asked a question, but they're all busy writing it down. So I'm coming around and going, Aaron, you've written a 7. Why do you think you're a 7? And he says to me, well, I come most of the time. I do answer some questions. I'm like, Aaron, you haven't been for 2 weeks. You haven't got a pen. You haven't got a file. Why? And, you know, but it dawned on me, and I am confident, and I said, this is exactly what I'd heard, and I knew I was going to get it from these guys who'd written this book. And it dawned on me, not once had I actually said, this is what effort looks like. So there's data out there that says, you know, okay, your average person who's going to get a C, grade 4, is going to do 2 or 3 hours of extra work a week outside of the classroom. Had I told the learners that? No, not at all. And I thought, gosh, you know, I'm missing a trick here. So we went through these kind of exercises. When it came to systems and practice, I was actually saying to them, and I'm going to borrow these, is that all right? I'd say, right, if you learn anything new today, can you just write a question that that kind of addresses what you've learned with the answer on the back? And I'm not kidding you, the kids who never brought a pen, not only brought a pen, but they're queuing up for these. And again, I'm sitting there thinking, what have I been doing for the last few months? You know, just thinking, do you know what, I'm going to stand in, I'm going to teach you about adjectives, we're going to go through the use of senses, and we're going to talk about some language features. I realised that actually, no, you know, I needed to go back to basics and make them feel comfortable and not lost in a classroom. What we had was fantastic outcomes in terms of attendance in the focus groups that we had. So we had, out of those, we had 2 focus groups. One was level 1 motor vehicle, and the other one was hair and beauty. We increased the attendance by about 4 or 5% leading up to the exam, when the rest of the colleges seemed to drop off, and we had 100% attendance at the exam. Now, to me, that's massive progress, because actually, I think I can say this out loud now, but you know, we did have a considerable no-show in our GCSE resets. You know, we're looking at 10%. That's 10 fails, isn't it, before you've even started? But the fact that we were able to engage, and I thought to myself, hang on, for the first time, these learners are turning up, they're sitting down, and they're not afraid of being on their own. They're not afraid of having that scaffolding taken away, because they've got some strategies about how to start and how to move forward themselves. So based on that, and I said I'd love to say that my pass rate went up by 50%, it didn't. Okay, but marginally it went up. Okay. But I thought, right, okay, we're going to now redesign our curriculum, the model, for delivery of English and maths. So what we've done, actually I've just done it in English, but we're doing it for maths soon, aren't we? Yeah. So for English, I've 3 hours of teaching allocated, so 90 guided learning hours a week. That's really good. That's a lot. 90 guided learning hours for the year. So we thought, right, we're going to have 2 hours of taught sessions, and then we're going to have an hour, which is the power hour. And in that hour, we are going to basically teach the learners some study skills. Okay? How to record information, how to identify the stuff that's relevant, and then what to do with it when they take it home. On top of that, we thought, hang on a minute, what about those learners who are still struggling, perhaps with anxiety, with confidence, with other issues? So we thought, right, okay, in this power hour, the learners will have some work set by the teacher. They'll have some study skills with the instructor who's running the power hour, but also there will be time there when most of the learners are learning for or taking part in an activity, for there to be some coaching going on as well. Okay. So we put our team through some coaching training that was provided by ETF. They used the GROW model, but I think, to be honest, it has kind of, it's moved on a little bit from there. But what was interesting was, for that hour, and I replaced a teacher with an instructor, okay, for a few reasons. Mainly because it is a different job. It is a different way of delivering. Okay? The instructor that we hired, who's been absolutely fantastic, was a teaching assistant from a school who had experience working with Thrive literacy intervention. She understood. She had already some strategies up our sleeve, and as we've been going on, and I've been talking to Vicky a lot, as and to Claire, about the fact that it's gone from Vesper to being a little bit of Vesper, and a little bit of Thrive, and a little bit of Master, and a bit of everything. Okay. So that's what we've done in terms of that. So we've got a scheme of work that we're happy to share with anybody who'd want to see it, as well as to what we do in that power hour. But as I said, we've changed the person who's running the session. So, the challenges. Where did we go a bit wrong as such? Not this one, by the way, the bottom one was fine. But the top one, we decided, and it wasn't until about 6 weeks in, we thought, why the hell did we do that? We decided to tell the learners it was a Vesper hour. Don't do it. It's just English. Because otherwise you get parents on the phone going, why aren't they in English? No, they are, you know. And basically, yeah, there was no need to give it a different name. It was daft. So we've learned that. We learned that actually sending the newsletter out in November was a bit late. We should have engaged the parents a little bit earlier, okay, just to explain what we were doing. Okay, because one thing we want to say to parents as well, it's not about them passing their GCSE, it's about making sure that they can deal with level 2 study, that they can deal with level 3 study. These, strategies that we give, that's all I've got left. Sorry, I'll be quick. These strategies that we're giving the learners are so important for their progression, for their success. Recruiting staff, it's tricky, isn't it? It's finding the right people. Okay? I'm really conscious of the time. I don't know whether just to go to the end or just fine. Another one is the minute that you talk about to your SLT about a new form of delivery, they want to see the data. What's your pass rate like? Well, actually, my attendance is up by 10%. The engagement is different, and we've really struggled with lesson observations because we have a different team who do the lesson observations across college who don't know much about Vesper, and they come into lessons and thinking, great, the attendance is fantastic, the engagement is a lot better, they've got a pen, nobody's sworn, this is marvellous, and yet you've got someone who might have come from an A-level lesson not really seeing the same progress as what I'm seeing. Okay? Sequential learning, if you've got 2 different teachers, that can have a bit of an impact. Quickly with Ofsted in November, they were all over it. They loved it. Okay, so all positive, and it does complement the new EF even very, very well. Hang on a second, I don't move forward. Okay, so the positives have been the fact that we have really got to understand a lot more about what our learners struggle with. Some of the coaching sessions I didn't realise would be quite emotional, quite tricky, because you realise that actually some of that reluctance to learn is just self-preservation. We've had to make sure that we look after our coaches and our instructors, the rest of the team, okay? Because so much, is shared, and it has been really enlightening. Attendance is much better, behaviour is better, and I think, as the project's gone on, we've just seen it grow. And a lot of times I think I've spoken to Vicky and just gone, no, this isn't working the way it should, I want to move it on to here and to here, and So our plan moving forward is to carry on with Vesper, but one key thing that has come up, okay, whether it's Vesper, whether you're calling it study skills, it doesn't matter. We feel that it's not enough on its own. There are 2 other things. We're really doing some work around mastery at the minute, aren't we? And about how we have to, when you really are reinforcing something, you have to change that method of delivery and do something different. And the second thing, which we was talking about earlier, is the importance of trust. For that instructor role to work, and for you to have that coaching session working well, there has to be trust. Is that all right?
Gosh, that was
Fabulous.
perfect.
Thank you. Sorry.
It says any questions.
Yes,
Yes.
To ask a question. It's lovely what you're talking about, and well done, congratulations. It's just fabulous, and your example that we can all learn from. And thanks very much. You've given us lots of ideas about different strategies. My question is, what was going on for the teachers in changing those things? What did they think?
Yeah. Oh gosh, no. Well, yeah. That's one thing we didn't really talk about as a challenge. Because
I'm wondering.
yes.
Did all these wonderful improvements happen because you changed strategies? I mean, that's a piece of it. But what was going on for the teachers as well?
Oh yeah. I've got to be honest. I think in our team we've got about 30 teachers, and I'd say 20 on board. Some who, particularly those who've been at the college for a longer period of time. The initial thing was, you can't do that. I've got too much content to cover. Don't take an hour away. But I was trying to say, but they're not learning. They're not going to take on your information that you're doing, that you're sharing in that 2 hours, if they don't know how to learn. And it's been trying to get the message. Taking staff with you is going to be hard because you are changing a model, and any change is threatening, and it's a bit nerve-wracking. So it has been a challenge. And what is really, I think it's okay to say this, at the start of term we had plus 1 or 2 teachers who were perhaps a little bit negative, and having to say, that's not how I want that shared in the classroom, because you've got to go in there believing it. And that's why I think putting a different label on it wasn't a good idea.
So there was a lot of learning going on for the teachers.
Yes. I almost felt like the teachers had to be whispered as much as is that all right to say? Had to go through that kind of, coaching. And I mean, the thing is, curriculum for us and the delivery models, it's changing all the time, isn't it? We're all up against it in terms of funding. In any other profession, you wouldn't be doing what you did 10 years ago. And I think, you have to start thinking about how you can move it forward. And it's something's a bit more challenging, isn't it? And,
but it's so important.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yes.
I just want to know, I also met Steve Oakes at the conference last year, and very impressed. What's interesting is I'm really glad that you've done this, chosen this as a focus, because he'd explored those strategies in the sixth form colleges, hadn't he?
Yes.
And I think that's one of the interesting things, because I thought I'd like, so anyone wanting to look at his books and his work, I think you need to bear in mind that some of them are pitched at sixth form level. But,
absolutely.
But put that to one side, because there's some fantastic stuff in there.
Yeah.
But and I'm really pleased that you've done it, because I kept thinking there's some really good ideas here that could be explored. So well done.
I said we're happy to share our scheme of work where we've taken some of the ideas for the key activities that we felt would work with our learners.
Jo, spend 30 seconds explaining how you contextualise that for learners with SEND, and because exactly what you're saying there, Bob, it's important.
Yeah, I think, but that really, Vicky, for us came back to trust, because again, we have a high percentage of SEND learners. I think it's 23%, a high percentage of learners with ASD. And any change to models that learners, experience are very, very challenging. And it's about that clarity in the message. And it got to the point, and I think Kay shared the other day with you, didn't she, that we had two learners who were working together in our supported learning and one was explaining that when one of the learners, it was Charlie, was saying something along the lines of, but hang on a minute, we're meant to be doing a reading comprehension, and Dylan just turned to him and he said, Charlie, we're learning to learn first. Or it was something like that. It was just lovely. So it's about making it inclusive, and I think you're absolutely right. It's not you can't just take it off the shelf and run with it, because it was, you know, made for sixth forms. But you model it into the way that you do for your college. Is that all right?
Perfect.
Yes. Thank you. Cheers.
Okay, so thank you so much. Thank you to the amazing projects that I've been so proud to work with. Just wonderful. And thank you everyone for coming to see as well. And we look forward to seeing yours right back. So thank you.